the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq 100. Let's start with SPY here on the day. A few things let's talk about here. Now, number one, when you zoom out, okay, we're on the 15-minute, but you still zoom out over the past few days, you're still making higher lows. I want to make that very clear. You're still holding up. I will say, though, action on SPY has been lackluster over the past 2 days, give or take. But what I will say is you have bounced decent so far in the day. You gap down, kind of bounce back up, and then lose momentum near the end of the day. Now you zoom in here. What I was really looking for some downside, I mentioned it yesterday as well, was a break below yesterday's lows on Monday. So in yesterday's video, I want to see a break, a retest, and continuation down to 578, maybe even lower. I mean, obviously, you see early in the morning, you dip down, you get back above, and you just kind of trend up for the rest of the day, making higher lows on the 15-minute for the remainder of the day, giving you that upside, right? Very clear, quick, easy to see. I mean, like you just draw that out, quickly see it's there. Now, you didn't really get too much of a breakout back into highs, but nonetheless, it was still decent. Now, I will say when you go into Dow, right, Dow futures, this is the biggest and cleanest picture you see here. That 43,000 marker, right? We've been very clear about this level. It goes back to Friday, September 27th. That's been your line in the sand. Now, you've seen some wicks below, but ultimately buyers have stepped in and protected that level. This is where and why SPY started bouncing, right? It was off that level, pushing us up, right? Coming into most of our targets that we had. Now, end of the day, last 45 minutes, a lot of selling steps in here. Okay, a lot of selling. And this could be anticipation earnings, but it's important that we're paying attention to the data that's in front of us and paying attention to what's happening. Because if you start breaking back below 43,000, I think SPY takes a dip. I will tell you right now, SPY has been carried by the Dow over the past week and a half. And I will say you have earnings that could play a large factor into this, which the first set of earnings were banks that really benefited us. We had XLF breaking to the upside clear as day here. Now we're getting some of these other earnings not doing so hot. So really quick, we're going to go over to Twitter. If you guys do not follow me on Twitter, I recommend doing so. This is like one of the best sources, in my opinion, to get more information from myself, charts, etc. They're always there. But also, too, on Twitter, I am not affiliated with them, but Earning Whisperers is very solid when it comes to overall earnings. So today in the after hours, you're getting some more earnings coming in here in phase. If you little name Baker Hughes, not too big, small of a name, but TXN, Texas Instruments, that is a bigger semiconductor name out there as well. Tomorrow morning, you have Boeing, Coke, GE Vernova, a few other names as well. But then after hours tomorrow, you get IBM. That's a big name. Tesla, LRCX. So some big names in here as well. But this morning, you get RTX, Lockheed Martin, GE. You had 3M, GM, very big names here. Philip Morris, right? These are decent Dow names, right? And so again, earnings didn't play out like you fully would have wanted on some of these names. Now, again, I believe the biggest earnings going into the Dow tomorrow is going to be IBM's a big name, so we need to be paying attention to that. And so again, this could also impact Dow. Now, it'll be after hours tomorrow. Tesla will be interesting tomorrow as well, but that's what I'm really paying attention to, okay? But I will still say, as of right now, SPY, you are sitting in a range. It's clear as day, right? So that range, in my opinion, let's just draw it out for you. Previous highs right here to when you broke up, 580, basically to 585. You're sitting in a rectangle. There's no misconfusion. You're clear as day sitting there over the past 14 days, almost 10 days, give or take. So you're sitting quietly in that range, not really breaking out to the upside or to the downside. Okay, QQQ, the Nasdaq. I think this gives you a little bit more of a feel here when you look. Now, the Nasdaq, Qs, I would argue you're making a little bit of a pennant here trying to break out. Now, what's been your catalyst for this breakout? Let's talk about a few things. Now, number one, the interesting thing here with Qs is you're making higher lows in our illiquid zone. Now, up until basically the 16th of October, every time we have broken above 487, we pushed into 493. Every time we broken below 493, we pushed down to 487. It was a pinball back and forth. Very easy. You can go back and look, right? There's not much liquidity here. Reason it being the illiquid zone. Now, as of recently, you're making higher lows here, as you can clearly see those being established. I will say you're still clearly trading in this illiquid zone on Nasdaq because you come to the bottom of that range plenty of times, but that's happened a lot in the after hours. Very important to understand that. Okay, so when we look back here, things I'm watching, higher lows establishing, that's good. Now, if we, for instance, start to see some selling occur here to where we start getting below 493 and we start seeing selling, reject and push down, I'd be pretty bearish looking for that 487 test once again. But again, I want to highlight earnings coming in will really guide this move. Understand that. They will guide majority of this move. But from a technical viewpoint, Nasdaq is looking the best right now. Okay. Qs are looking really good. I will say though, this is a large part in due of NVIDIA breaking and mounting all-time highs continually. SMH is sitting kind of flat, not really breaking out. You're not doing much here. Okay. So it's not all of semis. It's primarily NVIDIA. The other area here too, is you saw names like Microsoft really helping as well today, going from 419, 418 when you broke the 200 all the way into 430. We luckily caught some of that trade in Discord today, but again, very strong move here. Now, again, Microsoft, I'm going to let you know, tomorrow's going to be one of the top watches. Do you break back down, start pushing back towards 420? We'll see. But again, ultimately, what we're looking for broad market and what we're trying to pay attention to is can the story continue to the upside? Can we continue to get that structure that we've been getting over the past few days? And again, you're coming into resistance across the board in a lot of these names. So if sellers step in, this could be detrimental. We need to understand that as well with what's taking place here right now. And again, SPY, Qs, they look healthy, they look good. IWM, the Russell, I didn't cover it enough yesterday. Now, the Russell still looks good. You're making higher lows so far, okay? And I'm looking at higher time frames going back into August, right? So you've made higher lows continually. Resistance clearly at 225. You thought you were getting them out. You broke back down, okay? Now, if the Russell starts breaking back below locally 215, 214.7, I would be a very large cause of concern. You could easily break a retest and push towards the 200 SMA and really break down even deeper. Where it really kind of becoming a roadblock in the short term as well. So I think it's very important that we see continuation here, and we really want to be paying attention and keeping track of where this higher low or where this low is established and can buyers step back in. But again, it's very important to understand that earnings play the major factor here. Earnings play a very big factor in what's happening over the next few days. Now, as far as the economic calendar, what's happening with the market broadly, right? There's not too much stuff on the board here this week. You have some existing home sales, some Fed speakers. Fed speakers have been pretty net bullish, in my opinion, looking for more cuts. You have Beige Book tomorrow. We'll see the overall impacts of inflation, a better reading there. That'll be around 1 p.m. Central Time. You have some new home sales again, jobless claims. We'll see how those play out as well. But again, nothing really crazy. Consumer expectations, that's about it. No PCE, no CPI. No Fed decision, so none of your major data pools, okay? Now, the next thing here, I want to go back into SPY. Very important that we identify this, right? When we were getting this push here from the time of October 7th through essentially October 15th. Let's go back, look at volume here, right? Very important, right? 7th through the 15th. 49 million, some slower days here, 37, 40. But we were basically averaging around 40 million with the high of around 54 when we made that local high there. And our breakout on the first was around, when we found a bottom, was around 72 million, right? So there's a good little surge of volume stepping in. Recently this week, our volume is basing around 35 million, right? Lower than usual, 30 million. Now let's go and see what's happening here. I haven't used Edgeflow in a while, but again, I think it's an important tool, and it gives you guys a good visualization of what's happening out there in the market as far as data, right? So volume historically has been still uptrending over the week, right? Even though we've seen a decline in overall volume. Remember when this used to be 70 million a day, right? SPY is still uptrending here. Very important to understand that, right? So Monday, Tuesdays, usually slower days, but still important to understand lower volume. But again, we're well below that lower volume today, going into earnings as well, right? But Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, volume usually ramps up. Important to understand too, Wednesday, Thursdays, usually more of our red days. But again, that's because of data that comes in on those days typically, and we're still not there right now. So it's very important to understand, right? Monday, Tuesday, typically are better days for the S&P. Wednesday, Thursday, more red. Friday has been historically pretty green as well as far as recovery, bounce backs, etc. So that's what we're looking at right now. But volume definitely plays a part of that story of what's happening. So this irregular action we're seeing makes sense with this really crappy volume. The other part here, though, is you're just sitting in a range. Again, I always tell you guys, like when you're in these ranges, this is the best opportunity for you to lose money. Like if you want to lose money, like overtrade these ranges. Congratulations, you played yourself. That's what you're looking at there. So very important that we're paying close attention there as well to the data and things that are working against us actively here, right? Very, very important, right? So again, step further, what we're looking at there. Now, I want to go over some equities that I'm looking at as well. But first, we'll go over the dollar, and then we'll move into those equities. I'll be really quick with the dollar and yields. The dollar continues to rally to the upside. Very important to understand that. Risk off indicator, but again, the market continues to rampage and look very good. Yields continuing on our back into our downtrend, right? We can go back to the daily and look at that downtrend for you as well. As you look at that downtrend, you're still in there. We want to get below 4% and reject. You saw the fake breakdown. We pop back up. That is concerning. TLT also pulling back into our key level 92 as well. So important to understand where we're at. Not overall. And typically, you want to see these moving inverse to the way they're moving. So you have a risk on, signaling people want to have money exposed in the market, even though there is a lot of money exposed out there. This is a large reason, in my opinion, tech isn't moving the way it should be right now, right? Maybe it's a cool-off session. It is what it is, whatever it may be, okay? So understand that. Now, equities I'm liking. Let's jump into it. Number one, we jump into NVIDIA. What's going on here? The biggest factors coming into NVIDIA. Now, something I've made very clear is all you're really looking on NVIDIA, if you're looking to day trade this, is previous highs over and over, right? I think the 15-minute gives you the best example here. And so that's what I'm looking for continually is can you break, mount, get retest, right? So yesterday you break, you mount 141.8, you shoot up, bada bing, bada boom. Today you get a little bit of a pushback to 141.96. Very close, but eventually push back up, right? Really be looking more towards 142.5, etc. But NVIDIA, just stair step into the upside. No reason to get bearish here. I mean, if anything, you're looking for continuation there, but be careful. Apple, nice gap down on the day, back into 233. You ended up slowly pushing back into 236. It looks really good. But again, the gap down was a little annoying, but bouncing back as we speak. Above 236.2, I'm looking for 137.2 to 130 or 237.2, 237.5 for that all-time high push as well there. But again, Apple still looks strong, great bounce back, which again is important to understand that you have Apple bouncing back all day long while the SPY kind of had some choppier movements. Important to understand that as well. Meta, another big name I'm liking. This is one of our day trades on the day when you mounted this level here around 579 was a great trade there. But what you want to see here on Meta, I want to be really clear. In your levels, this is one of the just really respecting the hell out of this level is 583. If you're able to remount 583, I think this is an easy long. Like it's one of the better trades out there. Break, retest, continuation. You know, back up 587, maybe 593. But again, you look really good here. So I'm looking for that break and retest back above 583. You've developed a little bit of a supply zone here again. So you're going to find some resistance between 586 and 588. But above that, you're illiquid, in my opinion, to 593. And you look really good. I'd be watching Meta for the break back above 583 at the bare minimum. Looks really good there with the wait and see. Microsoft, one of the biggest stories of the day, they released some news around Copilot, what was happening there. I've mentioned this a few times. Number one, the 200 SMA right there. Number two, pushing into 424. Once you get above 424, you're looking for that push into 430. Well, you kind of just went straight through both, right? Above the 200, above 424, straight into 430. Great trade, great movement there. Kind of consolidating now. This is a big resistance at 430. So keep your head on a swivel there. You can see it's your very large resistance there. Going all the way back here. Above 432, 433, you're looking for 440 and beyond. Again, I like Microsoft dated. I think it looks very good as a name, as a stock. It looks very, very good. Higher lows establishing as well. You can still see that since August. You look good. You would like to make a higher high though. That's the structure you really want to see. But again, still looks good. But again, just rejecting off of 430 so far, looking for continuation going into this one as well. Okay, I'm not super interested in like Netflix or what's happening here. You're at all-time highs, can't do nothing. I want to see a retest of like 735. Earnings, Tesla tomorrow. A lot of people asking questions here. I'm the wrong guy. If you're looking to trade earnings, I am not your guy. I'm not going to trade earnings. I am still looking for downside here on Tesla. I would like to see us break 214.2 and then eventually get the push down to 204 to 202, maybe 201 as the 200 SMA is dipping slowly. But again, that's what I want to see here. Just a clean break, retest, and continuation. That's my viewpoint here. If earnings go well, you're looking for the break above basically 223, 224. You start to get that break over here, then you'll start pushing to fill that gap towards 232, maybe even to the 200 SMA on the weekly. So again, very good there as well. Keep your head on a swivel. Looks good. Performing decent. Okay. Google, I still think is a monster name out here that people aren't super focused on. Again, clear head and shoulders playing out here. Once you mount above your level here of 168.8 roughly. It's a clear cut long. I'm not hammering longs down here. You can just have your stops have to be below the 200 SMA. So there's a little bit of risk that's there with you. But again, a break amount of this level, you're looking for 175, 174 easily. And then you have a gap fill all the way up here as well, going into around 181. So monster name. Once we mount this level, I'll be hammering longs. I'm gonna let you know, probably with some time. But again, Google looks like a monster here. You gotta keep this on your chart. It's one of the best looking names, broad-based in the market right now. Looks phenomenal. Okay. Going in CrowdStrike, still sitting at your 200 SMA. Really weird action, but it's holding your support. Looks good so far. Amazon trying to break out. Big level here. Came into supply today around 191, 192. Jay called it out in Discord. You can see how you're pinching here though. Clear, making higher lows, lower highs here, coming to the apex. This should be interesting. If you don't know as well, I covered this on Twitter. I made sure I posted about this. But again, the Shein, the Temu knockoff that they're working on, it's in the works. It'll be coming out very soon. And again, I think this is going to be one of those things that can push Amazon over 200 in the long run. Keep them on your watch list. Keep them on your radar. You need to be paying attention. But that's basically it for today, guys. If you guys have questions or stocks you want me to go over, go to the chart request on Twitter today. Let me know what you're looking at. Again, if you mention like a penny stock, I'm probably not going to cover it. But if it's a good stock, good chart, I'm liking it, I'll cover it. I'll try to at the best of my ability. I'm probably not going to go over 30 names. So the better the stock, the higher possibility I will go over the chart, etc. I might miss it. I'll have to cover it again next time. But make sure you request. That's the only way to give you even an opportunity. So have a good one, guys. I appreciate it. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a good one, traders.